Our group came up with a bit of a catch cry as to what economic valuation is about. In relation to areas like travelling stock routes, it's mostly valuation of everything that money can't buy. But one of the major questions is whether we can get any valuation like that done. What Tristan was talking about this morning is how one would go about doing a valuation, but we don't actually have any funds yet to do a valuation of the sort he was talking about. This morning we had a discussion about the threats to travelling stock routes and the threats to their economic values and economic in the very broad sense of the things that affect people's lives, the things that affect the way people live, values such as recreational values and values of what people like in their surrounding environment, and therefore threats to those broader sorts of values. And those included, perhaps top of the list, inadequate management of weeds, feral animals and erosion and so on, is a threat to those values continuing. The coal seam gas mining, if it happens on a travelling stock route, or if it's a pipeline through a route, or if there's lots of access that's mucking up a route or a reserve. Other things that involve clearing and things like long fence lines or that are clearing for a fence line, or the National Broadband Network, or road widening and so on, that are often associated with an economic activity, but they muck up the economic values of the reserve. Another example was burial sites that are ancient Aboriginal burial sites and other Aboriginal cultural values of an area that if we don't actually realise that they have economic values as well as just a value associated with them existing and being there, then those sites are at more risk. The opportunities we discussed included the opportunity to use the fact that people get benefits and think about the benefits people get and try and get some funds to maximise the benefit people get from it. The particular example is that if Aboriginal people are able to go out and be in an outdoor landscape, particularly one with natural features such as a travelling stock route, they tend to feel happier and healthier. And if they've got an economic income from doing things, they feel happier and healthier, and that helps them in heaps of ways. And so if we could get some recognition of the value of, for example, Aboriginal people being able to help with management of a travelling stock route, or taking people on cultural tours such as the grey nomad people, getting out and being shown things by Aboriginal people, then we might be able to get some funds that are associated, that come from a bucket that is to do with helping their social and health well-being, and get that bucket spent on enabling them to do things to look after travelling stock routes. If we can get the funding associated with the benefits instead of just the funding associated with the land itself. Another opportunity that has been used to a small extent in the Northern Tablelands is getting community groups to act as custodians for a particular area while it's still under the ownership and overarching management of the Livestock Health and Pest Authority, or the current managers. There are some examples of both Aboriginal groups having a 15-year lease over an area and getting some funds from the Catchment Management Authority to help them do things, and examples of land care groups that are being custodians. The principles that we were talking about this afternoon, having one authority that is has some sort of overarching involvement in management, such as the existing Livestock Health and Pest Authority, but and in particular keeping the land in public ownership so that you can get money for public benefit on public land, and the principle of keeping uses to, in a sustainable way, managing to being sustainable. We didn't discuss that in any detail, but the group couldn't move on until we just mentioned that. One of the major things that we were saying in terms of priorities for now is to try to get some funding to do a pilot economic assessment. And the urgency of doing something includes the proposed review in relation to livestock health and pest authorities and their management of the TSRs, and the issue of coal seam gas pipelines going through travelling stock routes, where ministers have said, oh, well, we'll side with the farmers who don't want it on their good land, who are saying it should go on travelling stock routes. So there's an issue to try and show the economic value and to be at least starting to get those wider issues looked at in a way that might work more easily and convincing ministers and so on. And in that regard, we had some thoughts about some particular sites that would be useful to provide data. We have a major issue in terms of lack of data about most of those broad economic values that Tristan was talking about this morning. And we need to work out which sites are the most useful ones to use in a pilot study. We've only got a few ideas so far, but we'll keep working on that, and then they can try to work out how to do a study and just the particular approach.
As I was taking notes from the 6 different groups, I came up with what looks to me like 5 kind of agreed priorities that I heard again and again. I'm going to put these out there, not as the end, but as the beginning of this last conversation, during which, and we've got about 40 minutes or something, if we want to take that long, for an open conversation, really with a focus. We've already talked about what all the different ideas are, what the points of agreement might be. It's really important that this conversation begins to take that to a practical level, and we look at where next. So I hope that people are kind of thinking about where next and how does all this, fit in the world of real politics. But the 5 that I kept hearing again and again was the central authority that may come out of the LHPA review. There was lots of affirmation for the good work that those folks have been doing, but it would have maybe a broader mandate, and it would have stable resourcing, and it would have adequate resourcing, and that might extend to different funding sources as well, and bring together some more players or different levels of government. That was the first one I heard. The data accessibility, and it came up as I hovered around all the different groups as well. People were very frustrated with the shortcomings of the available data sets. One person knows about one set, one person knows about another, and maybe there's actually overall need for data as well. The third one was this representative management, the multi-partnership thing, and one of the benefits of that was seen to be ongoing networking and getting all the different sources of knowledge together. The fourth, for me, my perspective was the education, which was in a range of places and forms, and in particular kind of came fairly strongly out of the heritage group with a focus on Aboriginal cultural heritage and some of the opportunities there for protection and management through education. And the fifth was this idea of broader valuation, and I think Tristan sort of set us on a path there, given us a challenge about valuing, perhaps with the total environmental values sort of framework that takes in values that are non-use values as well, and so forth. And then we had some outliers as well, and they're not going to be lost, they will be carried forward by the working group. But that sounded to me like some real points of kind of convergence and agreement during the day.